The A7R has problems? Hey there folks, welcome back to the Photo Video Show where we explore all things photography. I'm your host, Mark Puckett. So now that the A7R Mark II has made its way out into the wild, reports are beginning to roll in about its performance, and I wanted to discuss a few of them here today. So I got a lot to cover, so let's get started. So I know that a lot of people are very excited about the all-new Sony A7R Mark II, myself included, but I think it's time that we have a conversation about several issues that have been cropping up since it was released into the wild. First, I want to say that I do not own this camera, and all the information that I'm presenting here is based on feedback that I've received from other photographers that I personally trust. So, starting things off, those people that were hoping to buy this camera for its 4K internal video recording may want to either wait for the next refresh cycle or consider going with a different manufacturer altogether. Apparently, the A7R Mark II loses a significant amount of detail when shooting 4K while in full frame mode. I've also heard that Sony has been pushing for people to use the new Super 35 mode as a fix, but that's not really a fix. If you're going to spend premium money for a premium feature, I want it to work properly, and I'm sure most of you feel the same way. My ultimate hope is that this issue can be fixed with a firmware update, but my general feeling is that if I'm spending over $3 grand, I want all my shit the day I open the box. Next up is the autofocus tracking. Again, it's a video issue, so this will mainly affect those looking into the A7R Mark II for using it in that capacity. Most of the tests that I've seen so far, the camera has performed fairly well. Nothing stellar, I would say, but the autofocus tracking is about on par with the Sony a6000 as it sits right now, which for a lot of people is going to be pretty disappointing because of the massive increase in phase detection points. With 399 focal plane phase detection points, you'd expect at least double the performance. But it appears that it suffers quite a bit when trying to track a subject moving toward or away from the camera. However, it does seem to hold up just fine tracking motion from side to side. Next, overheating. There is a fellow YouTuber by the name of Max Yurev that did several tests in several different lighting and temperature conditions against the Samsung NX1 and the Panasonic GH4. I'll leave a link to the video down in the description, but the gist was that after 15 or 20 minutes, the A7R Mark II would stop recording and completely shut down. As you know, these style cameras have a 29-minute recording limit, but not even getting that could make some people take pause and rethink this purchase. I think that for those that generally shoot in climate control conditions or that shoot for only brief periods of time, this shouldn't really be an issue. Nonetheless, I definitely think it's worth bringing up so that you guys can make an informed decision. So at the end of it all, I do think everything that I mentioned here is worth pointing out, but I don't think any of it is a complete deal breaker. The slight bit of resolution loss in the full frame versus the Super 35 mode is definitely a letdown, but I don't think it's enough that the end user would even notice. Only the most discerning pixel peepers would catch it, and that's assuming they were looking at the original RAW footage to begin with. The autofocus tracking thing is kind of a bummer, but again, it seems to affect the video side of things much more than the still photography side. Most people doing anything that requires on-point focus each and every time are probably going to have a dedicated focus puller anyway. You've got to remember that autofocus in video mode is mainly a consumer feature anyway, because the camera doesn't know what you want to focus on. It can do a lot of really awesome things, but reading your mind isn't going to be one of them. The overheating thing is most likely due to the form factor of the camera. Sony has made it big with these small cameras, and I personally am glad that they are trying extremely hard to keep these units as small as possible while cramming in the most amount of functionality. Just try to remember that this camera is doing a lot of stuff in that small little space. It's doing in-body image stabilization, it's doing recording and encoding and decoding. You're going to take this thing out in the 100-degree heat? I can't imagine what anyone would expect. Hell, even I shit the bed and shut down after 15 minutes in the blazing heat. So while yes, there are some quirks, and I'd still give this camera a shot personally. Most retailers on the planet have a pretty damn good return policy. So, I mean, at the very worst, you buy it, you try it out for 2 or 3 weeks, and if it fails you in a critical point in your workflow, you send it back, and get something else. Simple as that. So there you have it, and there you go, folks. I hope you guys feel more informed and don't always look at these kind of quote-unquote problems with a glass half empty kind of mentality. A lot of these things, you know, you just can't really expect the entire world out of these little devices. They're extremely capable, and we should accept them for what they are. And if it's worth it to us to pay that price tag, then I see no reason not to go ahead and do so. At any rate, thanks again for stopping here at the Photo Video Show. I'm your host, Mark Puckett, and I'll see you guys again on the next one. Peace.